Very good evening, everyone, and welcome back again to one another episode of the Mid Career Mastery podcast. My name is Purav, and I'm the founder of Star Leaders Hub. As a promise, I have been trying to get the most amazing people from the industry to help you in your mid career journey. And as a mission, the purpose of this Star Leaders Hub is to ensure that mid career professionals live their career journey with more certainty and with more confidence. In this growing economy, I want you to take the benefit and play the game to win and climb the ladder in your career journey faster. And that's why it's always important to listen to the people from the real world, what is going on in the industry today, because it is highly dynamic, and the way the businesses operate, the way people approach the employees and the new candidates is also changing very often. And hence I always try to pull in people from industry who can share with you their insights about what's happening. Again, today we have an amazing guest with us, Mr. Vikas Dua. He's an acclaimed HR professional with and a creative thinker. He currently leads the HR function across India for Weber Sandvik, part of the Interpublic Group, and has played a pivotal role in building careers of over 1.2 lakh individuals across various sectors. He is also an executive fellow at the Woxen University, contributing towards making higher education more relevant today. So let me tell you, he is also doing a lot of things beyond his own professional journey by the way of giving back to the society. He has been recognized as a LinkedIn top voice and is a prolific writer and blogger under his brand HR in my heart. So if you are here, if you are listening to this, just go and start following him on LinkedIn because he shares wonderful content that will help you in your professional journey. In addition to his professional pursuits, he is also dedicated to community service through his various initiatives like Attain and HuddleUp.ai, enhancing learning journeys and supporting next-gen employee engagement platforms. Vikas, I would before I mean I have been talking a lot about him. I would just pull him on the stage now. Vikas, wonderful to have you here today. Thanks for accepting this invite and investing your time on a weekend.
Thank you so much for having me, Purav. In fact, an honor also because I've been following your journey and your mission also on the platform, and I know that if there's commitment, you're right on top in terms of the people who display that in their own actions. So, honor indeed, and thank you for having me this evening.
Thank you so much, Vikas. Just to share with everyone who is listening, okay, we know each other for over 5 years now, and LinkedIn was a place where we got connected, and the journey has continued since then. So, for all those people who are actually watching this, and I would like to share with you the power of LinkedIn. Okay, start utilizing the power of LinkedIn. So, Vikas, let's begin this session. As I said, one of the focus, the theme is about mid-career professionals. But before I come to the professionals, mid-career professionals, I would like to know from you about your journey because it has been very diversified, and you have taken, I would say, you have taken a lot of unusual steps in your career journey. So, how has this been your overall career journey?
Great question, in fact, Purav, and I'm glad you asked that because I think more people need to know the reality. Some of these shifts have been conscious, some have just been forced, and some of them have played out in ways that I never imagined. And right from, of course, starting in, you say, graduating in hospitality to working in the hospitality sector, if I look back, and the only truth that comes to mind is the fact that maybe I was too young to make that call at that stage. And I took up that career, but somehow it was not aligned to what I wanted to do in the long term, didn't align to my values. And I was already in the first or second year of my journey as a young professional, exploring opportunities to get out. And I took the route of an MBA, a full time MBA, to make that transition happen. And then it brought me into the world of IT after completing my MBA. And that's where the real corporate journey in the space of HR really started. So the initial, you can say, 4 5 years, I was just exploring and kind of finding my way around as a young professional, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And it didn't happen overnight, didn't happen bang out of college. And along the way, when I continued down that path, I realized that yes, that was something that I was enjoying, different facets of it, the career ladder, the shifts in the industry, in the economic scenario also enabled me to shift into different industries along the way, different companies. And that's where I grew up and honed my skills. And in the middle, there was also an entrepreneurial bug which bit me, where I explored that facet of my professional journey. And the realization struck that I'm better off as a corporate professional. So I came back into the corporate world, into a different industry, which is the PR world now. And I'm thoroughly enjoying myself there. So that's how this unusual journey, as you call it, or
Yes.
diversified journey has come into being. But it's, to put it succinctly, it's not something that is always very charted or always very calculated. Some of these happen along the way, and one has to be open and receptive to those, is what I would guide your audience today.
You know what, because it has I have followed your journey, but the point that you just put right now, that it cannot be charted, it can never be charted. And this is a fact that I think we should start accepting, that ups and downs, it is easy to say and difficult to actually follow that, because at the back of the mind everybody assumes that a career journey has to be smooth, a career journey has to be always growth means growth is assumed as climbing the ladder,
Very well said.
right? And I think not only us but even the super successful entrepreneurs have faced huge dips in their journeys,
Correct.
and the dips have shaped the journeys much better than the highs of the journey. So
I
listening
couldn't
to you,
agree more to that. Sorry, I'm interjecting, but yes, I
yes, yes,
think that's a very powerful statement you shared there, because, again, the failures is where you really realize the growth opportunities and how you need to evolve and change. And those are really more instrumental in building your career and taking you further in your journey than possibly the successes that happen all along.
yes, yes, Vikas. And as you mentioned about the falls in your journey, you failed a couple of times. What were the one or two things, Vikas, that help you pull yourself out of, or help you kept going on? Because I keep on saying, but I have seen you going down, and I have seen you going coming up very very fast. So what were a couple of things that you would advise people in their mid career journey to start cultivating so that they can handle such situations?
So, the first and foremost, honestly, I would say, is family.
Okay.
You need them with you every step of the way. Their faith, their support gives you the maximum push and the maximum confidence that you can imagine and you can hope for. Attached to that or added to that is your community or your network or your relationships built in the world of business, whether as a corporate professional or as an entrepreneur or a, you can say, a vendor. Because if you build good relationships even for a few years in your life, initial years, or maybe by the time you reach mid management, those relationships are what can actually help you get your next break or get you clarity about your future steps as well. And then, of course, there's a larger community of LinkedIn, where again the amount of strong valuable relationships, including the one that possibly you and I share today, give you a tremendous boost and support in your lowest moments, where you can actually, feel better about yourself and get further aligned to your goals and get that confidence to move forward. And I'll give you a very simple example. Even when during the entrepreneurship stage, I was looking at deploying a platform to support education and employment. The fact is that my mentors, guides, uh, were all senior professionals who I had worked with in the past in my corporate journey. And with no, you can say, gratification or transfer of any sort of fees or any consideration. They spent hours and hours helping me fine tune that model and throw their insights from their experience, which helped me fine tune what I really wanted to develop and offer to the world. So those are some of the things that really play a pivotal role in making sure that whenever there is a low, also it's a low only for a temporary period, and
Mm.
you swim out of it, you come out of it at the earliest possible.
Yes, Vikas. I think because this one answer or this one insight is extremely important for all the mid-career professionals who are watching this. If you see to the last 2-3 minutes, Vikas did not talk about any skill. So trust me, friends, and all the people who are watching this, it is skills are important, but there is a lot beyond skills.
True.
And this is what we need to now understand, that it is not about 1 year or 2 years of your journey. If you are in the mid career, or if you are in your career journey, just think of the years that are left and start building the bridges. And the first bridge or the first uh, backup system is definitely your family. The second is your network, offline network and online network. And a network is built because of relationships. A network is not built because of intentions. So start building your network when you don't need your network. And the
True.
third is obviously mentors and guides. Okay. Skills are important. Skills will help you to survive. But if you want to grow and if you want to bounce back, there are a lot more things in addition to the skills which are required. Thank you so much, Vikas. I think this one discussion is going to help a lot of people. It's not that they don't know it, but when it comes from people who have lived that journey, that makes it more impactful and more realistic and authentic.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Vikas, for this. Thank you so much. Uh, Vikas, I would first talk about your LinkedIn journey. You have been a great contributor, you have been a great influencer, and you have developed a very strong network on LinkedIn. What are the three things that you would tell anybody who is looking for a career growth, how he or she should use LinkedIn?
Sure, Pura. So, the first thing really that comes to mind is the fact that today a LinkedIn profile is a mandatory or an essential profile to begin with. It's no longer optional. That's the sad reality, or the positive reality, whichever way you look at it. Uh, as a HR head myself, as a team head who manages a few recruiters, I know for a fact that every time we get a CV, either through referral or through an online application, whatever be the source, the first thing the team goes is also goes online and checks out the profile of the individual, because
Mhm.
an online profile, and especially a LinkedIn profile, shares a lot more about the candidate than possibly that one or two pager PDF document can share. So by default, all recruiters are actually scanning social media and, of course, a LinkedIn profile specifically to get a deeper sense of the candidate before they even reach out and have a conversation.
Hmm.
And therefore, many people, and including I, will say that LinkedIn is now your new professional CV in a sense, because it's essential for you to get a door open to at least having a conversation. The second thing is that when you are on LinkedIn, of course, you've got to present the most positive, most professional, most sharp view of yourself. And that can only happen if you are there in a very, I would say, open as well as engaged manner. And you can display facets of your personality. Now, everyone doesn't need to be a creator. It comes naturally to some people. Some people grow down that path by picking up the nuances, and some people are happy just kind of using the platform to develop themselves, pick up knowledge, pick up industry insights and all of that. So that's perfectly fine as well. You don't need to be a creator. But yes, if you are on the platform, I would strongly advocate, and this is really the third point, is that contribute, which is either you could share your perspectives on other people's content, or now LinkedIn has that provision where you can comment on these AI driven content pieces and present your perspectives on the same as well. So make sure that your views, your thought process are also transferring to the audience, because that again helps to add to your uh, view or external view of your personality, of your capability. And when that comes into the view of any recruiter or any HR head who's trying to tap you, it will give them a more 360 degree view of you, rather than just like I said, the PDF before. So that's the LinkedIn approach or guidance that I would share with anyone listening in.
Right, right. So, is it that when, I mean, because you mentioned about that you are also connected with the recruiters and you also play a role when it comes to taking people. Um, what is the, I'm asking a very typical question, but this is a very important question. Let's say if you are looking for someone to fill a position in the organization, okay, what will be your approach? I mean, you start with first to see whether is there somebody from within the organization who can fit in the position. Okay, this is what I share with my community, that the first step any HR or talent acquisition manager would do is that they would see internally. If that is not working, they might talk to their HR community if they
Yeah.
are able to get something from within, because they always want a trusted person to come in. And then if that doesn't work, then the third step would be either LinkedIn or a headhunter. And if that doesn't work, only then they might go to the portals like the normal job portals that we have. Is my understanding is somewhere aligning?
Of course, I think Purav, you're right to a very large extent. Of course, there may be a few differences in different organizations, basis, size, scale, the alignment or the thought process that the leaders have. But by and large, the idea whenever you are opening up a position for recruitment is to get the best person most suited to that job on that seat, irrespective of where that individual comes from.
Okay.
Having said that, the preferred approach, because there are business angles also involved, we all know that when you involve headhunters, there is a certain charge that needs to be paid, and that's an expense. When there's referral, there is another referral incentive or bonus normally that is paid out. And each one of these are slightly different, and they have their own dynamics in terms of the amount of the payout, in terms of the duration after which the payout is made, and so on and so forth. But lot of analysis across different organizations, different industries has shown that by and large, people that are referred tend to be more stable and have a longer, you can say, employment period with an organization compared to those who aren't.
Hmm.
That I have also experienced personally in my own analysis across different companies over the years.
Hmm.
So preference whenever rolling out a job also indirectly or directly sometimes begins to be trying to tap through the employee base, so that you have employees who are known, come with a certain pedigree that is also verified, so to speak, by internal employees. And the idea is that once they are in, they perform and are aligned to the values of the organization and are able to deliver to your expectations. That's the way we normally drive recruitment in most organizations, I would say.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, looking at the budgets, and now that we have LinkedIn,
Yes.
so that has become, I mean, one of the most popular platforms. I'm not promoting LinkedIn anywhere, but today, one of the most popular professional platforms for professional is LinkedIn, right? And that has also become a nice way for a nice channel to get the right people. And
Correct.
as you already said, you can know a lot of things before even giving them a call, just by looking at the LinkedIn profile. So, because when I talk about recruiting for senior roles, now when I say senior roles, when you recruit for roles above 15 years of experience, okay, uh, what are you exactly trying to gauge in a person? Because you have got 30 to 60 minutes during the interview. So, in addition to the technical skills, what are the other things that you would give a top priority?
Sure. So, Purav, hiring for a specific role, and I'm talking of a possibly a very not a very very highly technical role, but for broader and most roles, the idea, like you rightly pointed out, is that the technical aspects become sort of or almost understood to be a given, that the individual after 15 years has the necessary insights and
Correct.
information on the technical side. So what becomes important when you're at that 15-year 16-year kind of threshold in your career is the fact that, how effective are you as a manager slash leader, and whether you have the capability or the readiness or even the attitude to transition to the next phase in your career, which could be ideally senior leadership in a few years time.
Mm.
So as a HR professional, one would be looking at trying to understand the individual's leadership skills, team management skills, strategic thought, ability to shape perspectives, command the room full of senior people, and have the conviction and the capability to push one's point or agenda forward. The ability to, for example, work with people across functions or across disciplines, because again, the more higher up you go the ladder, uh, your success depends on how much you're able to influence others outside
Mm.
of your own direct span. So that becomes extremely key as well. How attuned you are, how connected you are to the changing business environment, how well you understand the shifts in the industry, and have a larger comprehensive view of not only your function or your domain or your technical, you can say, expertise, but how all of the different pieces of the organization fit together to find or to produce the final product or service which is offered to one's customers. So
Mm.
you can say more of a business leader
Mm.
oriented interview or analysis versus just domain or technical centric assessment that one is doing in such an interview. That's the way
Mm.
it normally happens.
Thank you so much, because this is extremely important, because one challenge which majority of the mid-career professionals are facing is this. Uh, we are not able to realize that now it's no longer, uh, the evaluation is not based only on technical skills. In fact, as you rightly said, it is assumed or it is understood that if a person has successfully lived 15 years of the professional journey, then technical skills are not to be re-verified. But there are a lot of other things which are now becoming more and more important, and even earlier they were important, like people management, like are you able to communicate and build relationship with the other stakeholders beyond your function, beyond your team, and are you able to show how will you impact the business as a whole rather than talking about what is your domain expertise. So I think this is a very strong message to all the people who are still believing that your certificates, or if you keep gaining more and more technical certificates, that will help you grow, then the answer is not so positive. Okay, if you want to still grow based on the certificates, then you are ensuring that you stay at the working level. So this is also what I tell people, that if you keep on demonstrating your technical skills or certificates, then you are ensuring that you are good where you are. You are running, staying away from the management roles. And
Yes.
people are so possessive about that technical achievements, that we are not able to let it go off. So I think the way we communicate, the way you position yourself, the way you present yourself, there has to be a drastic shift in your
Yes.
communication strategy, so that you can climb the ladder, right? So because this is becoming interesting, this is very important. And you talk about transitioning into the leadership journey. One of the myth which I was, when I was working in the professional journey, I was of the understanding that if I am now with 10, 12 years of experience, it's time for me to get into leadership. Of late I realized that it is not the years of experience that get you to leadership, right? It's your maturity, your behavior, and the way your approach towards the business, that takes you to the leadership role. So, what are your thoughts, or as a HR, how do you see at the transitioning into leadership?
You hit it on the nail, Purav, when you said that as you grow up the ladder, you need different skills and more beyond the techno uh, cracked or technical skills level. If you look at leaders today, the biggest skill that they need possibly is to continuously adapt and course correct. Uh, and frankly speaking, it's not even a quarter in these times. It's almost
Mm,
weekly, monthly kind of scenario that we're living in. So, as a leader, you've got to know that the world is ambiguous now. You don't know where the next quarter you're going to land up. So you've got to be able to embrace that flexibility, and not only embrace that flexibility, but also be able to get people around you, the people that are in your span, the people that you have some sort of you can say a tangential impact on, or who are stakeholders for you, to also adapt accordingly and uh,
mm,
shape shift accordingly, so that the organization moves in the right direction and is able to navigate that shift. Now
mm,
that also means at some level that yes, you will need to continuously, and we keep hearing this in different forums, and there's a element of truth in it also, is the fact that then you need to be able to be on the top of new technologies, new thought processes, new workforce dynamics. Take for example hybrid working. Now it's something that pre-pandemic was unheard of, but today every business leader, every manager in fact needs to be very very comfortable uh, understanding what hybrid work is, what is acceptable, what is not, and getting the team to align to it, ensuring that in this hybrid work model the team is able to function effectively, collaborate, produce the desired results, and contribute to the organization's goals. So the fact is that these kind of large scale shifts, which are today now mainstream in a sense, need to be also inculcated and also uh, shared with whoever one has an impact on, get them to move together in that same format.
mm,
uh, Another angle is of course the wellness piece for employees, because in 2024 we know that for a fact that today professionals, and not only Gen Z, I would say that's a misnomer. I think across levels people have realized the importance of the wellness in their lives and are prioritizing that in their career decisions. So
mm,
as a business leader, as a manager, whatever you call yourself, you got to understand that that becomes critical for ensuring that people stay with you, people stay attached to you, people stay with the company, and therefore giving the company more stability, giving company more higher chances of being successful over the next 6 to 12 months. So once you factor all of this in, I think in a nutshell what I'm saying is that you've got to stay one step ahead of the curve, look ahead and see where the shifts are happening,
mm,
prepare yourself from a knowledge standpoint, from a technical skill standpoint, from a leadership skill standpoint, to be able to move in that direction and take people along with you in that direction. That becomes key.
mm, mm. Here, because one point which I would like to touch upon, and which has become a kind of a, again the assumption part, or the kind of programming that we have been done throughout the journey. Okay, since the beginning of, since we have been born. Okay, when you say that we have to stay ahead of the curve. Okay, many people still believe that, okay, then if it is data science or if it is AI, I need to be an expert in AI. When you say that you have to stay ahead of the curve, so I would like to know from you that when you say you have to stay ahead of the curve if you are a leader, is it about becoming an expert with the new technology?
Great question, and very nuanced answer is what I'll give you, Purav. Now, if you look at the larger landscape, we've been seeing for the last 1 year that AI is all over. Again, LinkedIn is a buzzword where everyone wants to talk about. And you talk to tech to 10 senior professionals in terms of what is their understanding of AI, they'll give you the theoretical answer. They understand the implications and all of that. And then the next question if you pose to them is, what are you doing in your teams, or how are you personally using AI? I can tell you 9 out of 10 cases they'll say I'm using Chat GPT for some of my work.
Mm.
And today you and I both know that that's really the bottom, or the level one of what AI is doing and what can be possibly done with AI. And unfortunately, people are still not understanding the magnitude of the shift. So, does one need to become an expert in AI? Not really. But what I would say that one needs to understand what is the implication of AI on one specific workspace.
Mm.
As a, let's say for my example in HR, what is AI going to do? What is the value addition that's already happening? What can I expect in a few years from now? And then understand that once I've understood it, I start deploying, or start at least having the right conversations to get those platforms, tools into the organization, and also get my team to understand that this is something they really need to be familiar with. So while some amount of routine tasks will get automated, we also will need to understand that we may need to develop some new skills ourselves to be able to use and get the most or the biggest benefit out of those tools. And that means that we come back to this point, continuous learning, which means you continue figuring out what's happening. So that is what staying ahead of the curve means in terms of technology. And I'll tell you a
Mm.
very simple thing. It's not something to uh, really bang our heads against. It's a very simple example. Any one of us who has school going kids will today realize and know for a fact that by the time they've reached class 10, 11, and my own daughter, I see it, is a master at Chat GPT. In fact, beyond that, in terms of using other AI platforms. And frankly, if we are still at that same level, then we are really at the level of a 15, 16-year-old. So imagine
Yes.
in the next 5 years what will happen when these kids get to college and graduate out of college, and they're entering the workforce. So the idea for any mid-level professional, senior level professional who's listening in today is that take very strong proactive steps to really understand the implication of AI, and keep yourself one step ahead
Mm.
uh, for your own safety, for your own career longevity.
Yes. So I'll just pull something, as you rightly said, that it is not about mastering the technology, but it is about getting familiar with how will it impact your domain, and you should be aware of how to leverage that technology for your domain. So, audience, please understand. Okay, certificates, and I keep repeating this. It is not about the certificates that you keep getting on all the online platforms, because certificates sometimes are misguiding. You start assuming that because now I have a certificate, I will grow. But it is not about having the piece of paper. It is about implementing that technology to make your life easy and stay ahead of the curve in your domain. So start leveraging technology in that way, right? Thank you, Vikas. I mean, this is helping a lot. This is gradually unfolding a lot of myths that people carry, and because of which I unfortunately see many people uh, just surviving in the career. And I would also confess that I have been through this. I have been through this journey of either staying in the comfort zone, journey of resisting changes, and journey of underestimating the impact then that the new things can create. So, I mean, majority of us have seen that impact. Uh, Coming to just shifting gears a little bit, we have some questions. So, thank you, Sahil, for your comment about wellness decision impacting career. Yes. Kumare-san, thank you for your comment. One LinkedIn user, how to start L&D in a startup culture. Shall we take this question right now, Vikas? Or
Sure, happy to do that. I'm just trying to actually understand, in a sense, where this attendee is kind of coming in. If I look at LND today, the traditional model, Purav, has been that there is specialized experts who
mm,
engage with a group of people
mm,
for varied durations, ranging for a couple of hours workshop to 6 month, 12-month kind of learning journey. and they help in uh, both technical as well as you can say behavioral upskilling and knowledge enhancement and all of that. When you are talking about in a L&D in a startup culture, I'm assuming that there is some amount of platform or technology this individual is talking about, which is related to L&D. Now, in a very simplistic manner, even a platform, edtech platform, typically is an L&D platform, because what you're really doing is you are putting learning programs or knowledge into one centralized space and enabling users to access them 24/7, 365 from any location on the earth. So that's L&D in a technology slash startup kind of space. Now, if you're in 2024 looking at deploying or starting something L&D space, the first starting question for yourself is that where do your skill set or your ability lie? Do you have the technical capability, or at least the ability to bring in a 5 or 6 technical experts to help you craft that platform or solution
Mm.
that you are thinking about? Because what is the uniqueness that you bring to the table today, which none of the other platforms have brought in?
Mm.
If you look at platforms today, they are able to, in a some sense, provide individual or customized training programs. That's the kind of space we've reached in, where they, depending on your role in the organization, your uh, previous skill sets, your knowledge that you already have, uh, factoring in what kind of roadmap the organization has for you a couple of years down the line, these predictive models can try and push out or suggest programs that you should be doing. Will you have the technical capability to use some of the new technology that is available, machine learning, AI, and all of that, to develop or create or provide this in a better and a more seamless manner, which helps me as an individual or a HR head for a company know that for my staff, this platform can provide very specific, very friendly, very action oriented, and very fruitful
Mm.
programs, which after they complete, they will move up 1 or 2 or 3 notches in whatever the skill set or knowledge they need to acquire. Is that what you can do? Or is there a specific knowledge that you can do in a trainer setup in a conference room, bringing in people together and helping them bond or collaborate better as a team? Depending on where you are in that entire continuum from one side to the other, then you craft your L&D solution or venture. That's my guidance.
Okay, thank you so much. This question was from Amisha Prashar. Prashar. Okay, I'm sorry for the surname, but it was from Amisha. She is a human resource expert. Okay, we have few other questions, because I would say, because there are a couple of them, I would first take that questions. Okay, I have
Sure.
got one or two more questions for you, which I have in mind, because the way you are answering questions, these are important. But first, I'll take the question from the audience, and the one question from Abhishek is, what about executive certificates from top institutes like IIM, IITs? How useful are they? This is coming from the fact that when I shared that it's not about the certificates. Okay, and he has one more question. How does one reconcile two statements? Be a continuous learner versus not much values in certificates. Okay.
Brilliant question, and I'm glad Abhishek has asked that. I would second what you said, Purav. Unfortunately, in the pandemic, we realized and saw that collecting certificates became like collecting matchboxes used to be during our childhood. And of course, that time we didn't have anyone to show it to. We just kept it in our drawers and felt happy about it. But today, people are able to show it on LinkedIn, and it's become the fancy, you can say, trophy cupboard. But HR professional like myself also realize that we know how much effort has gone into those certifications, so they don't to that extent add value in our eyes. The value that we see, Abhishek, is really in your capability and in your ability to do versus say what you can do. I'll just repeat that: your ability to do versus your ability to say what you can do. And that happens through purely detailed interactions, assessments, interviews, and maybe even on the job working, because all organizations have a probation period. So we are beyond that stage of looking at a certificate and saying this guy is great. uh, we are at that stage where today your work needs to talk, your ability to execute needs to talk. We're at that stage where age and experience don't matter so much as your
Mhm.
ability to do stuff. And Purav also spoke about that earlier. It's not about how many years you've got and how many certificates you've collected and you can showcase. It's about what you actually know. So in a lot of assessments or interviews that we do, and especially seeing that in roles which are media related, is where we would ask for actual proof of some creatives they've done, videos they've made, some production they've executed, where we can actually see the quality of the output rather than just saying that I know to do Adobe Premiere Pro, because a
Mm.
lot of people do that. But to what extent have they really learned and are masters of that will only be verifiable through the end product. Also, to
Yes.
touch upon what you mentioned, I think whether it was Abhishek or someone else, I don't know whether the values or certificates from, let's say, the IITs, IIMs, and all carry value. Now, again, there's a difference between a full time program and having graduated or done a master's from one of these top institutes and having gone through the rigor versus a short term, 1 week, 3 month kind of program. Now, have they no value? No, I'm not saying that at all. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm also saying is that at the same time, evaluators are very capable of understanding how much effort, involvement has gone into you acquiring that certificate. Now we also know for a fact that a IIT certificate will have certain value because it has been created by experts with very strong capability and lineage, having put through hours of effort into defining the course curriculum, charting it out. They would have very stringent assessments during the course of the program, be it for a week or a 3 months or a 6 month. So there is definitely some value, but at the same time, it will be seen, again, I'm repeating, in conjunction with what you are able to demonstrate that you can do.
Yes. Thank you so much, Vikas. Very simply answered in a very simple language. Okay. And Abhishek, I would just add one more thing to what Vikas said. You should start, if you feel that the capabilities are there, start showcasing the capabilities on LinkedIn in terms of writing it down. Because you know what? People will also understand the authenticity with the way you write it, whether it is real or not. And half of the assessment can be done by you creating content on LinkedIn. So that also makes it relatively easy for the HR to evaluate your capabilities. And there is a very simple rule in economics. If the supply is more, the demand is less. And unfortunately, that is what has started happening with the certificates.
Yeah.
Okay. With all due respect to all the certificates and all due respect to all the top institutes, but it is the way the certificates are being used is has created in this uh, approach of of evaluating people first, even if the certificates are there, right? So, Vikas, a few more questions, and because there are a lot of questions. Okay, one question from Hina Mehta. She is a confidence builder on. I mean, that is what her LinkedIn profile says. How much focus should a leader pay to AI skilling for their teams?
Great question. And what I shared a few minutes earlier, Purav, I'll repeat that. One has to understand what are the implication of AI in one's span of work, in one's domain of expertise, because AI has the potential today to add value to some extent. At the other side, it also has the potential to completely do away with a certain team or a role at the other end. It's already reached that level of capability. So, depending on where and what your kind of work is, it's important to understand what you can say interventions with AI are already happening in that space. What is the value they're already beginning, and then maybe try and project or discuss with experts in trying to see where will they land in a year's time or a 2 years time frame, so that you can plan proactively. It The worst thing to happen in our careers is when we realize that there are certain jobs that just disappear overnight, and
Hmm.
we've had very senior people from, let's say, the IT world who also commented, for example, call center, uh, call handling, basic query work is going to disappear in as soon as the next 12 months. So that's just one example. There are implications of AI on different areas of work at different points in time. And getting into the nuts and bolts of what AI is able to do in your specific area is the starting point in trying to see how much you want your team to understand and work on it. Now, we've reached a stage where AI is also creating videos just through a prompt, and production quality videos which require crews of 15, 20 people to execute. We have AI which is creating songs. At one point we thought that musicians and artists are safe and no one can touch their turf because they are creative and they are not number crunching like rest of us on Excel and things like that, but that's no longer true. So the
Yes.
implications are huge. I might be sounding a little dramatic, but I certainly feel that this is, like they say, the new industrial revolution, and we better learn to work with it than get left behind.
Thank you so much, Hina. Hope you got your answer. Because we have got two more questions. One, I mean, for the one, the answer is clear, but let me just share the question from Vismay. How important is formal leadership training versus on-the-job experience for advancing to higher roles?
Great. So, firstly, Vismay, hello from VD to VD. Always lovely to meet another VD. Thanks for joining in this evening. Great question, and I will share the standard HR response. I think one is not better than the other; they both go hand in hand. There is obviously a very strong role, and I personally believe that your experiences in life on the job provide the biggest amount of learning and leadership experience that you can get. But at the same time, I will not discount the fact that leadership training has its own role, especially when the training is delivered by experts, by mentors who've gone down that path and who've been there, done that in a sense, because they are the ones who can throw in their insights and guidance from having been in your shoes a few years prior. Where I see some sort of amount of challenge is when you say leadership training in a 4 hour workshop for your leadership team because you have to tick box that activity for the year. I don't see that as value added from two standpoint. One is that from a company standpoint, is some often a tick box activity which maybe will not be looked at again apart from the annual end of year deck which is showcased to senior leadership in terms of having done that training. The second is the problem where everyone, once they're out of that meeting, have already gone off into their mode of let's enjoy the evening drinks and cocktail session because we've finished that training and now we have to head back to our base location tomorrow, and there is no follow-up action out of that.
Mm.
Leadership training, when it's done in the right way, where you have strategic thought, assessments, planning, then post training touch points, assessments, recalibrations, is what really adds value. So that's what I would try and guide you to look at as you go forward.
Uh, because actually, this was a very great answer that we cannot discount either. But at the same time, when it is done for a tick in the box, that doesn't make sense. And unfortunately, um, I have seen that many times. I have seen that many times, and people don't actually realize that what are they missing when it comes to learning, right? Uh, One more question, which is maybe a little deviating from the topic, but it is like in your experience, because what are the most common fears or insecurities people have about their career, and how can they address these challenges effectively? I'm not sure whether you can take this, because, but you can please if you can.
No, I think this is a great question. I think great, Kumarasan, that you asked that because I want to own up here. I think I'm part of the HR fraternity, and we are at the core of making this happen. I'll tell you why. I think the story starts from campus interviews where we present a very, very rosy picture to everyone. And the picture, I think, Purav, you also mentioned it at the top of this podcast, and it really hit home. And is the genesis for my answer, this I'm sharing right now, is the fact that we show a very nice career ladder You will start as a management trainee, you will become a assistant manager, deputy manager, manager, assistant vice president, president, and it looks so lovely on that screen, and everyone, all of those 100 200 kids in the auditorium go gaga, and they see their life journey, their career unfolding like that. And trust you me, that is hogwash. It's never like that. It may be for a few odd success stories, once in a while, once in a few decades, but for the majority of us, we don't realize the fact that careers are also horizontal, careers are also diagonal, and careers sometimes even dip downwards when you get laid off. Careers are shaky because you end up with a toxic boss. And the insecurity, to answer your question, Kumarasan, really comes from there, because we grow up thinking that in school I went from 6th standard to 7th to 8th to 9th, and every year it was vertical. But my career should also be like that. And HR also came to campus and told me that. But hey, it's not turning out to be like that. So we start getting into this fear, you can say, situation where unless we get that promotion the next year, the world will come to an end. Unless we get that 20% increment, our future is finished. And one leads to the other, added to the fact that my batchmate who joined the other company got sent to Hong Kong for 1 year, and I'm still sitting in Pune. All of that leads to this insecurity and tension, and brings us further down, or takes us further down the rabbit hole, where then again we struggle to come out of it. And then we go to and we take the help of coaches and mentors to help us come out of that, which is not wrong. And anytime you're in a problem, you should reach out to people who can help and guide you. But why reach there in the first place is my point.
Yes, because I think this is the core. This is the core, and there is something wrong. I mean, I would not say with the system, but the way we have been programmed for the career journey. In fact, in that case, for any journey, we always believe that it has to be good. It has to be always success is on the way, and we have been taught that failures are not good, and that is also one of the reason of insecurity. And I keep saying this because you said it right, that people, we show a very green picture. And while I was in my college doing my graduation, even before graduation, you should get a job is a security. You should get a job, and एक बार job लग गई तो फिर life set है. So we all start treating job as a security. And of late, I have started realizing it myself also, that why don't people take risk in the job is because we consider that as a fixed deposit, a security. And if you consider it as a security, then you should be ready to get the interest which is governed by someone else, and which is usually the lowest. So I think you answered it very well, Vikas, and this is also a key for why mid-career professionals, because we have seen the previous generation where people were actually working for saving money. And we have also seen the next generation after us who are growing like anything. And we are in the middle. Now we have people who are highly qualified and saving money, and people who are less qualified than us making more money than us. And we are stuck in the middle. So this is the beauty of the mid-career professionals today. That kare to kya kare, with all the responsibilities, the resistance or the ability to take risk is less.
Yeah. And I'll just add to that, if you don't mind, Purav. And I'm glad you're having this conversation for mid-career professionals, because the way I see it in industries across, they stand at the highest risk right now. Senior leadership, wherever they are, have proved themselves, have reached their senior levels in many cases. They are secure also to some extent. And they are also sitting tight wherever they are. The juniors at the same time, like you rightly said, have different kind of aspirations, attitudes. They are able to navigate different landscapes, be it corporate jobs, be it entrepreneurship, be it freelancers and all these solopreneurs and all these new age influencer kind of avenues that have opened up. In the mid-level, what is happening is that there is a larger scrutiny happening in terms of what is the value add to the organization. And we have a large number of population at that level in most organizations, which is what we call manager of managers. They don't do anything, but they just manage managers, which means that they're not really creating any IP, they're not creating any direct value to the organization. They are in a sense acting like, to want for better word, postmen, where they are taking information from their managers or from their team, they are putting it into a nice PPT and showcasing that to their senior leadership. Those people, wherever they are at the highest risk, because they're not working with their hands, working intellectually with their minds, and helping shape the narrative for their teams and for the organization. Then they are at a solid risk, because a PPT will be done by AI in the next 2 months if it is not already happening.
Yes.
So mid-level professionals really need to somewhere introspect and see how secure and how much value they're adding to their organization if they really want to survive into the next 5 years.
So, because what this is a question coming out of your answer, what will be your advice to these people?
Advice is simple: introspect hard in terms of seeing that what are you doing as a value add. Because when you look at any production process in any industry, Purav, whether it's a manufacturing chips or manufacturing, let's say, paper rolls or even software, at each stage there is a process step and there is a value addition in that process step, whether it is taking, let's say, wood pulp and converting that into a mash and then putting in, making it into sheets, and then it goes into a dryer and all of that. It's similar in a corporate where you are playing a certain role. What is that role you are playing? Are you just taking information, your team is executing some stuff, and are you just taking the data points, asking them aaj kitna sale hua, and putting it into a Excel sheet and or a PPT and sending a WhatsApp message to your boss and saying today we have clocked 25 unit sales? Then an app will do that or is already doing that for you. So
Okay.
the guidance really is understanding what is that value that you're adding when your team is executing and doing something on the ground and producing some output. What is your top up value, and are you paid to a level where you are delivering higher value to your organization? Because if you are paid higher than what value you are adding to the final product, then there is a question mark on your role either today or in the next 6 months.
Yes.
If your answer
Yes.
is that you're adding value beyond what you are being paid currently, then you are in a secure space.
Mm.
And maybe you need to still proactively plan for a more challenging scenario later down. But God forbid, if the question is the other way around, then you are in a tight situation,
Yes.
my friend, is what I would say.
Yes. Yes. Because this was very interesting. I mean, getting a lot of insights and reality. This is actually hitting hard, and we are almost. I mean, it's almost 60 minutes. But I have got one question, because which has become a very common scenario nowadays, and that is a career gap. How do you look at that when somebody comes to you, when you are entering someone with a career gap? So, uh, what is your perspective about this scenario?
Uh, Great question, Purav. And the reality is that today career gaps are still more acceptable than they were a few years ago, even 5, 10 years ago. So there's a marked shift in terms of acceptance of career gaps. As HR or business leaders evaluating candidates with career gaps, the approach is very similar and very straightforward. The idea is to try and understand why that career gap. Uh, and therefore, the guidance to anyone listening is that be truthful about it, whatever be the reason, whether it was burnout or personal issues or challenges.
Mm.
Because often we find that people try to hide and play around and use excuses, which eventually get seen through. So people
Mm.
on the other side are smart, intelligent, go with that assumption when you're going for an interview and be honest about it. Your chances of clearing an interview, if you're truthful, are higher if versus when you lie and try to skirt around some of these tricky situations, right? The second piece is that even if you have been out of the workplace and you had a skill gap for whatever reason, if you can showcase in some way some value add that you have done to yourself and
Mm.
how, or to society, let's assume you had a really a challenging period and you had to be a caregiver for a family member, and that is the reason you had to step away. Try and convey how you were able to add value and grow and support the other individual and yourself during that period, because that
Mm.
will show that of course you were not sitting on a beach or lounging on your bed watching OTT, because at the end of the day, it somewhere showcases that while you took a career break, you were also focused on your own development, and it was not that you were just whiling away time and completely lost. Because when you are looking for staff for your own organization, you're really looking for people who come with a fire in the belly, as they say. So
Yes.
that fire should still be there, and it shouldn't be something that you are just still in a sort of ambiguous space exploring, taking chances, because frankly in today's world no company has the, I would say, bandwidth, time, energy, funds to support any kind of such half-hearted, you can say, employment.
Yes, Vikas. Thank you so much, Because what I would share with all the people here is that, see, it is coming from an HR, and Vikas said it is common across HR that career gaps are acceptable. So the first thing I would tell all of you, if you have a career gap, remember that it is acceptable. Now, for others to accept it, first you have to accept it. Okay, and if you accept it, then you can share it openly. Only then you can share it openly. Second is that during the career gap, utilize it in the best possible way so that you can craft a good story about the gap. Okay, because today skills is one of the criterias, but apart from skills, it is also about your attitude. It is about the fire in the belly. So if your attitude is right, career gaps are okay. But if you are in a complaining mode, if you are in a blame game, then that is what a company don't want to have, to disturb their culture. So a cultural fit is also, people HR look a lot when they recruit someone, at least for the senior roles or in the mid career, right? So because this was fantastic, I think I got, in fact, I got a lot of insights, and for some, I was able to also ensure that I am on the right path the way I share with my community. And somewhere I have seen this journey of sometimes I playing complacent in my journey and missing opportunities. I not taking risk, or I playing in my comfort zone. I sometimes not upskilling myself, assuming that अभी तो बहुत देर है, but that is not working anymore. So Vikas, thank you so much. If you want to share anything and the closing remarks from you, and then I take it again.
No, thank you for having me, Purav. And in the spirit of transparency that you shared, I own up to that as well. It's happened with me as well, the complacency and avoidance of risks, and it does impact one's career. So, thanks for sharing that and enabling me also to open up about it briefly, because I think the more people listen to us and get inspired and realize that careers are dynamic and have their ups and downs like heartbeats, I think we'll have done our bit, and the rest is up to them to take ownership of their careers and move forward. So thank you for this opportunity. It's been a pleasure. I felt I was talking to someone I could really, engage with and relate to, and it just floats so beautifully. Thank you for this superb podcast.
Thank you so much, Vikas. Once again, it has always been nice talking and getting a lot of insights. Especially, I would repeat it for the last time, but yes, before I end this, when it is coming from a person who has seen it, and I have seen it, him experiencing it, and then I have also seen Vikas growing after coming out of such dips. So hats off to you, Vikas. I mean, you are growing yourself and you are impacting a lot of lives around and adding a lot of value to the platform. So keep doing that, because I would love to have you some again as well in the community, and
Anytime.
to help my community at the career ownership hub and maybe something else. Thank you so much, Vikas.
Thank you for
Uh,
having me. Thank you, Purav.
awesome talking to you. Bye bye.
Thanks.